Patriots select Drake May.
He's got the ball, and that's the ball game.
All right, I hope everybody had a great bye weekend. It is Tuesday, December the 9th, taping this at 10:59 in the morning. Patriots gearing up for a massive showdown with the Buffalo Bills at Gillette Stadium Sunday, 1 o'clock. You probably already heard the news. The game against Baltimore the following week has been flexed to after 8 o'clock, whatever the kickoff is, 8:15, 8:30. I can't keep track of it, which means your boy's going to be tired, but it doesn't matter because the season has been a lot of fun. You'll just have to bear with the bags under my eyes. Going to be even bigger than they normally are. But we're not going to get there yet. We got to talk about this one first. But a reminder, of course, you are watching the All 32 podcast with yours truly, Mike Giardi. We are a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, and of course, brought to you by the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, that being PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. I got to get it back on a good streak. Have not been on a good streak as of late, but fired up. So let's do this thing. So going to go through a few things today. And first things first, just want to talk about the Patriots mindset. They had a bonus day of practice, if you will, on Monday. Saw several players return to practice, including Jared Wilson. Remember, supposedly, and I keep saying I cast doubt on this, that was a high ankle sprain against Cincinnati. That's normally a 4 to 6 week injury. He was out there on the practice field. Practice reports, however, aren't official until Wednesday. So we'll get the official status at that point for Jared Wilson, and if by chance he might be ready for this game against the Buffalo Bills. Kyrus Tonga also out there. Of course, he missed the last game with the pec injury, chest injury, whatever they're calling it. He was working off to the side when we were in attendance, and this isn't training camp. We're there for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so you don't get to see a ton. Brendan Schooler, their ace special teamer, also back at practice and doing individual drills with teams. Harold Landry not there. That's just managing an old guy who's obviously dealt with some physical issues, but has been a rock for this team. And Terrell Jennings, the running back, who was concussed against the Giants, and he remains off to the side. So when we talked to Mike Vrabel on Monday, the question came up. It's a hat and T-shirt game for the first time in a long time. And this is crazy when you consider how often this was a thing for the Patriots. It almost became like, ho-hum, they've done it again. They won 17 division titles between 2001 and 2019, including 11 in a row from 09 to 19. I mean, helps having Tom Brady in his prime, Bill Belichick cooking up some good stuff there as well, and all the great players that came through. But in recent years, obviously, times have been leaner. In fact, more likely to be playing for the #1 overall pick the last couple seasons than they were for a division title. Vrabel was asked, do you use that as a motivator, the hat and T-shirt game? And he's, I don't get into that. But he did say, we're trying to play for the championship that's in front of us this week. And this team has been really good about that and keeping their eyes on the prize week after week after week. Players are excited about it. Marcus Jones, who's lived through these 4-13 seasons the last couple of years, is like, you've got to embrace this, right? Like, this is what you play for. And we haven't had that in a while. Austin Hooper, who rolled into the league, Atlanta, he's going to Super Bowls, playing with an MVP quarterback in Matt Ryan in that one season, as we know, 28-3 Super Bowl lead before the Patriots overcame. It's like, you come into the league, you have some success, and you're like, oh, this is just the way it's supposed to be. And then Hooper's been on a lot of bad teams since, so he said it kind of gives you a little extra juice when you're coming into work. He said, makes you want to do the ordinary things extraordinary. And I think this team has really focused on that sort of thing during the course of the year and has had some success. So they've got that going for them. They're excited about it. But that led me to think, what was the last, give a handful of games, best, most important games, most important, not best, most important games at Gillette Stadium during the regular season. So eliminating the playoffs. I'm eliminating this 5-year window prior to Drake May and Mike Vrabel and this emergence this year, because quite frankly, they weren't very good. Even the year when they won 10 games, that was smoke and mirrors largely. So thinking about having the Bills coming in here, and I came up with 3 games that sort of stood out to me. You might have a different list. This isn't like definitive list. I'm not telling you you're stupid if you don't think that these are the games, but I wanted to start and I'll kind of work backwards. I'm going to go December 29th, 2019. That would be Tom Brady's last season with the Patriots. Pat started that year off 8-0. You remember it. Antonio Brown briefly on the squad, 9 days, I think it was, before he got sent away. Brady talking about being the most miserable 8-0 quarterback in the history of football. It was accurate. There was a lot of other things that went into that beyond the way he thought the team was playing. But then the Patriots started to struggle down the stretch, and they entered the game against the Miami Dolphins in year one of Brian Flores with a 12-3 record. The Dolphins were 4-11, nothing really to play for. In fact, the owner, as we've since found out, wanted Brian Flores to tank. He wanted to have the number one pick or wanted to have the best pick possible. And Flores got that team playing pretty good ball over the second half of the year. And Miami came in knowing that the Patriots, with a win, would get the first round bye, and they played their asses off in that game. Jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Eric Rowe, remember him, of all people, a former Patriot, a 35-yard interception return for a touchdown to make it 10-0 in the second quarter. Patriots fought back. Nick Folk kicked a short field goal. Sony Michel had a good day, short touchdown run. So you're thinking at halftime, order is restored. But like I said, Flores had that team believing. Devontae Parker, again, became a Patriot, largely because he did good things against Belichick, and Belichick would remember that. He didn't do good things for Belichick or anybody else when he was here in his brief time. But nonetheless, he was working over Stephon Gilmore in that game. But it took till 24 seconds left in the game. Ryan Fitzmagic to Mike Gesicki, who again became a future Patriot. 5-yard touchdown with 24 seconds left to give the Dolphins a 27-24 win. Fitzmagic was 28 of 41, 320 yards and a touchdown, made all the right plays in that game, forced the Patriots to play in the wild card round for the first time since 2013. And I think you remember how it went. Mike Vrabel brought the Tennessee Titans in town. Derrick Henry went off. Logan Ryan put the capper on the Brady era with an interception return for a touchdown, ending the Patriots season. Not too long thereafter, Tom Brady became a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and then the Patriots were in search of their next franchise quarterback, settling on Cam Newton. That didn't work. Mac Jones, that worked briefly. Bailey Zappi, Brian Hoyer, on and on. Jacoby Brissett, until, of course, you got Drake May, and now Drake May has become Drake May. Same year, week before that game, also in 2019, the Bills come to Gillette Stadium at 10-4. This is the beginning of the Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Brian Daboll. This thing is working, and we're about to overtake you in the division. Patriots were 11-3, so just a one-game edge in the division. Brutally cold day. Julian Edelman was questionable to play in that game. He was barely moving during the course of the week. I remember watching him work out on like a Thursday or Friday, and I was like, there's just no way he's going to play. Of course, he suited up. He later would get checked for a concussion in this game and would return and had a big catch. But this was one of those games, and the Bills gave the Patriots all they could handle and then some. They led 17-13 after three quarters. Josh Allen doing some wow shit, pardon my French. Rex Burkhead, though, scored late. Edelman, who, as I said, was in the blue medical tent being evaluated for concussion, came out, caught the 2-point conversion. So Patriots were up 24-17. And then Allen took them down the field. Long completion to Dawson Knox, got down to the Patriots' 8-yard line, 1st and goal. You're thinking, oh boy, we're going to overtime. Or maybe would McDermott show stones if they score and go for 2? Patriots defense bowed up. Adam Butler, remember him, now playing with the still with the Raiders, I believe. Big third down sack of Allen, put him at 4th and goal in the 15. They had to go for it because, again, they were down by a touchdown, 24-17. Pressure. Allen just threw one up into the end zone. J.C. Jackson, just cover Jackson, knocked the ball away harmlessly. Patriots hang on to a 24-17 win. That was their 11th straight AFC East title. And the last one that they got, the Bills have won every one since then, but that could change on Sunday. And finally, I'm going to go way back. I don't know about, but this didn't have division stakes. This is the dynasty crumbling stakes, and that would be October 5th, 2014, Patriots hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, the famous "we're on to Cincinnati" game, when some guy asked Bill Belichick after a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in which Tom Brady looked like he was seeing ghosts and didn't look good, said, "Are you going to evaluate the quarterback position?" There was no answer. There was just a snort, or I didn't even forget, grunt, whatever he did there. Patriots rallied around Brady the following week, and they went out and put an ass whooping on the Cincinnati Bengals, who came in at 3-0. Patriots were 2-2. They were 3-0. Patriots won 43-17. Cincy had been allowing 11 points per game. The Patriots scored 14 in the first quarter, and we're up 20-3 at the half. And again, just absolutely steamrolled them. Rob Gronkowski famously in the post-game locker room is fighting back tears, talking about his quarterback. We would do anything for this guy. Patriots would go on to win the Super Bowl that year, but that was sort of the circle the wagons moment. And so those were the three games I came up with. Again, there's plenty of others that maybe had more importance at the time in terms of division win, loss, whatever, fighting back challengers. There were certainly some big games with the Rex Ryan Jets a little bit earlier in the decade. And then you can obviously go back to a number of the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Tony Dungy, Bill Belichick showdowns. If you're thinking about, big games and games that everybody circled and games that seem to be, in the standalone window, whether it be in prime time or at that 425 game where they stood alone and all eyes were watching and everyone would say, hey, whoever wins this one is probably going to end up in the Super Bowl. As we know, the Patriots won a hell of a lot more of those than they lost. But now they're back into a position where this really matters. I've loved the energy at Gillette this year, so I think there's a real chance for a home field advantage in this one. I just think fans are so desperate after the last couple of years. I mean, it's crazy to say because it's only been a couple of years, 5 years, however you want to define this most recent window of not playing Patriot football. But like there was such a hunger for them to bounce back this year, and the love that is being shown to the players, the team, coaching staff. It's all valid, right? I mean, they're 11-2. They've won 10 in a row, which again, I don't think anybody really truly expected them to be this good, this fast in the first year under Mike Vrabel. Before we move on, I got to tell you about our title sponsor, PrizePicks. They are the best. They bring you this episode, a lot of the other ones here, or all the other ones on CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but with PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss out on any of the excitement of the football season. PrizePicks, simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, up to 6. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports app offering stacks, meaning you pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. It's funny. The copy says Josh Allen, pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns. If you're watching this pod, good chance you're thinking Drake May, pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, because he has been on a heater, as he is now number 2, by the way. He's fallen back to number 2 in the sportsbook odds for MVP behind Matthew Stafford as they continue to swap back and forth. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So I think for the next topic, we got to talk about Josh Allen and how good he is. And we'll get into this a little bit more later in the week. I'll bring in the lady and gentleman from the Buffalo Plus pod. Of course, we had them earlier in the season, and I just appeared on theirs yesterday. Again, this is Tuesday, December 9th, as we do the Home and Home series for podcasts. Love those guys and Jenna, and look forward to talking with them about where the Bills are at right now, how they view the Patriots after having seen them in person, this iteration of them, late September, early October, whenever that was, that the game where the Patriots went up there and won 23-20 this season and sort of established themselves as more than just a frisky team, but a team to be reckoned with. And as we've seen now, the team that is currently number 2 in the AFC standings overall for home field advantage. Currently don't have the tiebreaker with Denver, who is also 11-2. Josh Allen went all throwback on you against the Cincinnati Bengals, who, as I said, terrible defense, had been playing better, starting with you. They did some things to Drake May that we haven't seen anybody do this year. and it took a little while for the Patriots to figure that out, and that game was closer than I expected. Obviously they had a bunch of red zone snaps that they didn't score touchdowns on, including and turned the ball over on downs down there. So that still could have ended up being an 18, 20-point game. It was a 6-point game, but that's how these things play. But Allen went bananas against the Bengals in the snow in Buffalo this past weekend. 22 of 28, 251 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, rushed for another touchdown en route to 78 yards rushing in the game. The Bills now trail the Patriots by 2 games with 4 to play. So this is, again, as we know, Patriots win, they win the division. Bills win, they muddy things up here, and there's a chance for maybe, we'll see, down the stretch. As I mentioned, Patriots played Baltimore. Baltimore is not the same team that we thought they were. Lamar Jackson is not playing the same way. I think the injuries are a massive part of that, but that team continues to disappoint at 6-7. So that game still be very important, still have a lot of eyes on it, but this is the biggest game of the rest of the regular season. And if Patriots take care of business, those next 3 games, it's about seeding and it's about getting people healthy. If you can get some help with Denver down the stretch. There's been a lot of discussion about Allen not having the same kind of year. And I think if you've heard me talk about it, they're just not as good. Their offensive line, which was the best offensive line in football the previous 2 seasons, has not played to the same level. There's been injuries. Spencer Brown, their right tackles, missed games. Deion Dawkins, their left tackles, missed games. Osiris Torrance, who I really like as a player, has fallen off this year. So they have not been nearly as good up front. They went with the same formula at wide receiver, thinking that Keon Coleman, their second-year player, second-round receiver from the Jalen Polk draft, would elevate this year. He's been a healthy scratch because he's missing meetings and showing up late. He caught 2 passes in the game against Cincinnati. Like, he's not it. And he doesn't seem to have the right mindset for it. So that'll be an interesting one to monitor in the offseason. Will they do something with him? Will they get fed up with him? Will they upgrade at that position? Because I think they need to. Their tight ends are critical. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Spencer Hawes all had nice games against the Bengals, but that kind of tells you where their offense is at. Shakir's their best receiver. He's not a number 1 by any stretch of the imagination. Be a great guy to have as a number 2 on a team, but they don't have anyone who stretches vertically with any consistency. That's why they signed Brandon Cooks off the scrap heap. He can't really play anymore. I mean, he can run in a straight line. Okay, great. But they don't have it. And you saw when the Patriots played them in that Week 5 game, there was not really much of a fear about those guys on the outside. Of course, you would normally just say, let's play man-to-man defense on those guys because you have Christian Gonzalez, you have Marcus Jones, who was awesome in that game, you have Carlton Davis. But as we saw against the Bengals, when you play man and you turn your back to Josh Allen, he rips off a 40-yard run and ices the game. So you have to be careful with that. I'm sure we'll see man because they don't major in just one thing, but you can't live in it either against Allen because he, especially as the season goes on and the stakes grow higher, he is more and more willing to run the football. You could just go back and look at their big games. Josh is always, whatever the number is, he averages 4 carries a game or 5 carries a game when it's Kansas City and it's a big game. When it's this past week against Cincinnati, like the number jumps to 7 or 8, sometimes 10, because he will do whatever it takes to win the game. So talking about how, has Allen's play not been the same? Yeah, he's had some more turnovers this year. But if you go by the nerd numbers love the Bills offense and they love Josh Allen. He is second in total EPA per play, trailing only Jordan Love. You say, where's Drake May? Well, he's tied with Drake May, number 2 in total EPA for play. He's tops in rush EPA amongst all quarterbacks. If you're into QBR, he's 6th in QBR. For comparison's sake, Drake May is 3rd. Offensive DVOA, Bills as a team, 7th in offensive DVOA. Patriots, who have been the more consistent offense all year long by the scoreboard, are 10th. And then lastly, when you talk about defenses, just throw this into the mix. Pats are 25th in defensive DVOA. I was actually surprised to see the Bills, who I don't like their defense at all, 22nd in DVOA. So Allen has had another MVP type year, just not as good as it was last year, and not as good, obviously, as Drake May or Matthew Stafford, the two front runners for the award this year. But he is someone you absolutely should fear. He is someone that the Patriots talked about already. Here it is, a bonus day, and it's like, well, did you see the quarterback? Did you see what the quarterback did on Sunday against the Cincinnati? Like, when you think you're down and out, that quarterback can drag you back in it. Patriots are fortunate to have someone similar in that. You're not nearly the runner that Josh is, because as Mike Vrabel told us on Monday, he's like, Josh has a few more pounds on Drake. He can lower his shoulder, whereas, as Vrabel said, I'd prefer our guy don't do that. But I do expect, and it's something that I've thought about, and I think as you get closer and closer to the end here and the games and the stakes grow, that the Patriots will lean a little bit more on Drake May's legs, especially if the running game remains inconsistent and not, the success rate from down to down is it's not very good. But this is a great matchup. Having covered the Bills for a number of years at NFL Network, I can tell you this, that Allen very much knows what Drake May is doing. And while he appreciates a fellow quarterback having success, he doesn't like the fact that Drake came into his building, outplayed him, and that the Patriots beat the Bills. So there shouldn't be any need for any more motivation, but I guess what I'm saying is he's going to be gassed up. Like, there's a lot at stake here, and they would like to remind people, especially in New England, who are writing the Bills off and saying, no, we're not dead yet. So I'm fascinated to see the chess match between Vrabel, Zach Core, Josh Allen, Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, who has not had his best year either. But this is going to be a fun game. It's going to be an exciting game. Before we finish up, I wanted to just take a league-wide view quickly with the news that Phillip Rivers worked out for the Indianapolis Colts. That is right. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who is a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame, working out for the Colts because of the injuries the Colts have suffered at the quarterback position. As you saw, Daniel Jones blowing out his Achilles while trying to play on the opposite leg that had a fractured fibula. He had a steel plate on the outside of it to protect it. There's no way you will not be able to convince me that one didn't relate to the other in terms of you have to favor that leg. He hadn't looked like the same guy for the last few weeks in terms of mobility, and then he just non-contact pops the Achilles. So he's done for the year. They brought in Riley Leonard, who is a developmental quarterback from Notre Dame, draft pick. He had a real good, sort of kicking and screaming and pulling the Fighting Irish into the playoffs last year. And I think they were in the championship game, if I recall. Did fairly well in his debut in Jacksonville, even though they got rolled. Tough spot to be in, rain. That team's struggling, depressed because their quarterback just went down. But he has a PCL injury in his knee, and he is week to week. So it doesn't look like he's going to be ready to go. Brett Rippon is their practice squad quarterback, so he's probably going to get elevated. You say, well, where's Anthony Richardson, the number 4 pick in the draft from a couple of years ago? Still out with the fractured orbital, which happened while he was stretching with a band. Apparently, I thought it was the band that hit him and broke the orbital. Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts for ESPN, reported it was actually whatever the metal thing that it was holding it to was what hit him in the eye. He's still on IR, and it doesn't sound like he's ready. So hence, you call the 44-year-old quarterback who's flirted with playing a number of times over the last few years, flirted with San Francisco when Purdy was injured a couple years ago, flirted with the same Colts when Carson Wentz had COVID. Let's go back to that. So he can still throw it. And that I think that's like Brady. Brady could step in right now and throw it. The question is, can he move enough to protect himself, and can he take a hit? You say, well, could they put him in as the number 1 quarterback? He knows Shane Steichen, worked with Steichen for 9 years. He's a Mensa candidate as a quarterback in terms of his ability to retain information. So yeah, I think if they sign him, I think there's a good chance that he starts a quarterback for them, which would be absolutely insane considering he has not played football in 5 years. Currently coaching his son, a junior quarterback who's the number 7th overall quarterback in that class. So we're going to get another Rivers, at least in college, and who knows, maybe in the pros if he takes after his old man. But the Colts are desperate right now. Started 7-1, fallen to 8-5. I mean, you might as well at this point probably wonder why maybe at the deadline they didn't try to add another quarterback to that mix, but not knowing what Anthony Richardson's situation would look like. But they didn't, and this is where they're at, and I don't think it's going to save them. But sign me up. Sign me up for Phillip Rivers starting a game on Sunday. If he gets signed, it's Tuesday again. We're taping this in the morning, so it's possible the deal is done by the time that you listen to this. But yeah, I would love to see it. Sign me up. Last thing, the Chiefs falling to 6-7 after losing to the Texans, sort of unloaded the clip, if you will, on Sunday Night Football. 10-10, defense playing well, decided to go for it in their own territory. Rashee Rice drops a very catchable ball that would have gotten the first down, extended the chains, Texans score, and that was it. The Chiefs were like, oh, they lose 20-10. They fall to 6-7. They've got to win out and probably get some help to make the playoffs. The first thing first, if you're a Patriot fan, you're like, this never happened to Brady. Brady never missed the playoffs. You're right. Didn't, other than 2002, so the very early days of Brady after they won the Super Bowl in 2001. I think Mahomes is still playing great. And I'm not going to go all Chris Collinsworth on you because that's a little bit nauseating, but they're a mess everywhere. And much like the Bills, they've tried to get by with lesser talent at receiver or leaning on Travis Kelce, who is so clearly washed that I'm not afraid to say it. He's just not the same player. That was his first game since he became a starter where he had more drops than catches, 2 drops, 1 catch. One of the drops led to an interception, much like it did in a game against Philadelphia that they should have won earlier in the year. They were going in on the score, and he dropped the ball, got picked off, and run back for like 80 yards or whatever it was. So that's just the kind of year they've had. You know, they're talking about going into that game, the offensive line's a mess. Josh Simmons, the rookie left tackle who had already missed time for personal reasons, on the IR now with the dislocated and broken wrist. Right tackle Juwan Taylor, who has been a dramatic overpay and a walking penalty, but at least he's been out there and posted. He didn't play in the game. And then Morris, who's filling in at left tackle, gets hurt on the first play and is lost for the season with a knee injury, which for some reason I didn't show the replay on. They're like, that's kind of too like, let us be the judge if we can see the replay or not. Like, I'm not trying to be callous, but it wasn't like a DeMar Hamlin situation. It was a knee. I don't know. Isn't that kind of your responsibility to show us the replay? Kind of bothers me. They've been a little judicious with that. Anyway, so now 6-7, tough schedule. I mean, I can't imagine they find a way in, but until he is 6 feet under, that being Patrick Mahomes, I would not rule them out because we've seen it too many times. We've seen him elevate that team, but it does feel like this iteration of the Chiefs is coming to an end. Reminiscent of the 05-06 Patriots, trying to get by with Rashae Caldwell and Jabbar Gaffney, and the team was aging out in different spots and trying to integrate young players. And obviously they went from Patriots from 04 until 14 without winning the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, you wait 10 years, it's going to be 40 years old for that to happen. So they're going to have to figure out a way to turn it around a little bit more quickly than the Patriots did, at least in terms of winning Super Bowls. Patriots are still obviously very, very good, including 16-0 in 2007. But we measure this by postseason wins and Super Bowl wins, and they're in danger of missing it for the first time since Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes formed this dynamic duo. Kind of crazy to think when we talked about who was going to make the playoffs when the season started in September, you would have had Baltimore as a no-doubter, Kansas City as a no-doubter. I mean, even Detroit in the West is in the NFC fighting for a spot at this point. Like they're not a lock to get in. So it's just been one of the more crazy years in the National Football League, and the Patriots have certainly taken advantage of the power vacuum, if you will, at the top and put themselves right in there as a team to be reckoned with and a team that has a legitimate chance to go to a Super Bowl and without a dominant team, potentially win a Super Bowl, which again, absolutely nuts. Enjoy it. Again, we'll be back later this week with the guys from and Jenna from Buffalo Plus. Looking forward to that. That'll be fun. We have a lot of fun when we get together. I've known them for a long time. Enjoy being a basically I'm an honorary member of the Buffalo Plus podcast. I've been on it so many times talking about the Patriots, or when I was covering the Bills, talking about the Bills. A reminder for those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit the like button, and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can get this podcast and a lot of other great Patriots content, or Celtics, whatever, Bruins. CLNS has you covered. Callan and I will do a podcast on Monday after the Bills-Patriots game, but you've got Cadlick and Kyles, Hines and Barth. Who else am I missing? Bedard, obviously. Doug Kyde, Michael Hurley. A lot of stuff there for you to consume. Please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. And don't be afraid to give us a 5-star and a nice review. We love those, whether it be wherever you get your podcasts, or, of course, when you're watching on YouTube. All right, thanks to Harrison for producing the program. Thanks to you guys for watching. Appreciate you much. Again, we'll see you Thursday or Friday. I think Thursday is the day we're going to do that with the Buffalo Plus people. But look forward to that. Look forward to bringing you coverage all week long at Boston Sports Journal for a big, big football game. Missed them, love them. Looking forward to it. Have a good one.